On today's episode of the Mark Titus Show, the Uconn Huskies have won their 5th national championship in 25 years. The dreaded 9-year national title drought is over. It was a rough 9 years for Uconn fans, lost in the wilderness, just wandering around, wondering will we ever win another national title. But their long nightmare is over 9 years later. You sons of bitches. I'm kidding. I'm happy for Uconn. They're a fun program, man. This is a fun team, and I think they got it right. I think the basketball gods got this right. Uconn was an absolute force in this NCAA tournament, but it wasn't just like they flipped a switch in March. They were good at the start of the year. They were dominant in December. They were dominant. We've talked about the January struggles and Big East play, and I don't know. Maybe we'll talk about a little bit about that more on the show tonight because it is interesting how this team has all the makings of an all-time team. I think. You know what? I'll save it for the show. I don't need to talk about it in the intro. We don't need to flesh it out now. But the Huskies, in a little bit of a ho-hum game, San Diego State did all they could. Credit to them. The second half was San Diego State basketball, frankly. A lot of the people watching were like, what is this? This is gross. Get this out of my face. But it was working, and San Diego State was making a game of it there, but UConn just too talented, too deep. And this national championship game ended up playing out about how I anticipated it, with Connecticut kind of in control the entire time. So Jake Marsh is currently in Houston doing the post-game stuff. He's going to come on and join the show a little later. I'm going to let him get into the UConn locker room and, I don't know, ask God knows what to these guys and smell the confetti on the floor and whatever the hell it is that Jake Marsh does. He's going to zoom in a little bit later, and I'll get the boots on the ground report, but that'll be a little later. Until he gets here, we're just going to talk about the Huskies beating the Aztecs. Congrats to UConn. Let's rock. All right, UConn, national champions. Stream of consciousness here. I just got done watching it about 20 minutes ago. Don't really have any notes in front of me. Just going to rip off the dome, like thoughts and feelings and all that sort of thing. My first thought goes to Dan Hurley, as you're wont to do with coaches in the NCAA tournament who win their first title. Just the arc of this man's career, like he's obviously basketball royalty, and his story has been told a million times, and I don't think his tenure at UConn exactly snuck up on people. I think if you've followed college basketball, you've known of the Hurley family and you've known of Dan Hurley for a very long time. And when he arrived at UConn, he did so in the typical Hurley fashion with a lot of bravado. There was the famous clip I saw going around leading up to the Final Four where UConn gets smacked by Nova, and he's like, you better get your licks in now because we're coming. And that's just how Dan Hurley's carried himself. And heading into this tournament, I obviously said I don't trust crazy coaches for the end of games. And a lot of that was predicated on, at times when you watch Dan Hurley throughout the season, he does push the envelope maybe a little bit too much, but I said a couple weeks ago, I don't think there's a coach in the country who has an approval rating of his fan base more than Dan Hurley does of UConn fans. And whatever it is, whatever secret sauce he had, just brought out the best in this team. And this UConn team was they were so fun for a few reasons. Number one, they were fun because they were very good. And as it turns out, the most fun basketball teams tend to be the teams that beat the shit out of everybody. Those are the most fun teams to watch. Those are the teams that I enjoy. But I was on this UConn team early. Not like, I don't mean to say that as like I'm a basketball hipster and I'm smarter than everybody, and saw a team start 14 or 15-0, I forget what it is. And no one else in the country saw this. I mean, everyone else did. But part of like why I fell in love with UConn very, very early in this season was because of the makeup of the team. It was, we talked about it a little bit on the Final Four preview of, you had like the core back of Sonogo and Hawkins and Andre Jackson. And then you're bringing in a few transfers, a few freshmen, and just kind of, it felt like just like a nice mix of like how, if you're a fan of like old school college basketball, I know they hit up the transfer portal with Tristan Newton and Calcaterra and Aline. But it just felt like this wasn't like this was not a team that was built by just like going out and paying a bunch of dudes. This was not a team built on the back of one and dones. If you're a hater of the transfer portal, you might point to like, Tristan Newton is ultimately the difference, and I think him being awesome lately for UConn is what made them an absolute juggernaut, and him being not as great in January is what made doubts start to creep in when you were thinking about this UConn team. So him being on this team did ultimately make a difference. And if you're someone who hates the transfer portal, you would say, like this is not old school basketball. This is not how college basketball should be. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what these people think. I don't think this, so I don't know. But for me, this felt like just the kind of team that you're used to rooting for in college basketball, and to see the improvement. Sanogo was great last year. He was so good, but he had figured out like how his footwork was so much better this year, and his hands were so much better, and he's shooting threes, and he has just such a feel for the game that maybe he didn't have a year ago. Andre Jackson out of the gate was like a guy that I if you watched UConn last year, he jumps out at you with his athleticism, but he was just from the start with this season, he was a guy that was just all over the court at all times. A guy that you describe with 1,000 cliches, because he's doing everything it takes to win, and he was for me, I felt early like he was the best defender in the country. I think his role defensively, like he was always a great defender. He was a great defender all season, but I think like when he as the season wore on, he wasn't necessarily wowing you with defensive plays. He was wowing you with like everything else. He was wowing you with like running across the court to track down offensive rebounds. He was wowing you with the transition. He's wowing you with like the patience he has offensively to I talked to Jake on the last show about watching that Xavier game, and Xavier was sagging off of Jackson and just daring him to shoot threes, and he shot 12 of them. And I vividly remember that game just like screaming at my TV, because at that point I'd fallen in love with UConn, and I'm like, Andre, what are you doing? Please stop shooting. And as the season wore on, he kind of understood his role in the offense more, and I think he had like 6 assists tonight in the national championship game and only 3 points. But he is a coach's dream, man. That guy, I really, really, really hope he has an NBA career, and I think he will. He's got to obviously figure the jump shot out, but he's the kind of guy you fall in love with. Tired of being soft when you should be hard? 40% of men suffer from hormonal imbalances and low testosterone, and no one's willing to talk about it. The average male testosterone level has decreased by 26% over the past 3 decades. The situation is that you have a bunch of guys that are depressed, they don't have energy, they can't focus, they're gaining weight faster, their libido is gone. Elevated by Astroflav is an all-natural testosterone booster containing 2 powerful ingredients, Fedosia agrestis and Tongkat Ali. This combination in Elevated has shown results of 250-point increase in total testosterone, but can be anywhere between 200 to 400-point increase. Increased testosterone levels means increases in energy, improvements in libido, reduction in stress levels, while building muscle and burning fat. Elevated by Astroflav has over 500,000 bottles sold to men with amazing results. Get a free 2-week trial of Elevated, available at astroflav.com/barstool. Just pay shipping. Jordan Hawkins, I mean, my favorite player in college basketball this year. I could not get enough of watching this man play. I love shooters. I will always love shooters. That's the one thing that I was ever good at basketball. So when I see guys that I wouldn't say like play like me, but play a way that like they play the perfect version of what I was trying to do on a basketball. Like Jordan Hawkins is who I aspired to be when I played basketball. So I just love his game. I love his game so much. I love how confident he is shooting. I love how I think he's the best shooter in the country. I've said it a million times. Stats might not back that up. The advanced stat nerds will point to someone else. I don't care. I know what my eyeballs tell me. And game on the line, game not even on the line, whatever. You're drawing up a set play. That man's hitting it with the hand in his face. He's hitting it wide open. Like I think he's just incredible, and I also can't wait to watch him at the next level. So those 3 guys, though, are the core of this team, obviously. Those are the guys that came back from last year, and those are the guys that make a team like this so likable, because that's what this sport is about, man, is seeing the improvement year to year that guys have, and it's so varied because, like I said, like Sanogo did not sneak up on anybody. Sanogo coming into the season was All-American buzz, and everyone knew who he was. But a guy like Hawkins is someone who was a little more under the radar, and if you watched Uconn last year, you noticed the ability, but the production wasn't always there for various reasons. The roster makeup was a little different. He wasn't getting as much, the offense wasn't running through him last year like it was this year. But to see him explode when given an opportunity is why I will always keep coming back to this sport. It's just that's what it's all about, man. That's what this sport is about, is to see a guy like that just bide his time. And I know he's on there, he's a sophomore, so it's not like he's waited 4 or 5 years, but that's just the perfect story. And then you start mixing in like a Tristan Newton, who I've been critical of this season, and like I said with the January lull, as doubt started to creep in and UConn's losing some games they probably shouldn't be, I point the finger at Newton because I felt like the rest of the roster was kind of perfect for what UConn needed, and what they needed to complement all the pieces they had was just a point guard that was trustworthy, that wasn't throwing the ball all over the gym, that wasn't necessarily hunting for his own shot, and was instead facilitating the offense. And Newton could be that at times, and at other times he was just a little inconsistent. But man, he really has pulled it together, and he is I really think that he was their ceiling all season. I think like when he was playing well was when UConn was at their best, and when he wasn't is when UConn wasn't. And he's been playing lights out, and had an incredible game tonight on both ends of the floor. Calcaterra is fun. Caravan's fun. I mean, you bring Klingon off the bench, like it's unfair. This team was just likable from the get-go, and that's why, like, coming out of PK 85, as Purdue runs the table and dominates everybody, and UConn does the same. I mean, I obviously I have some biases and have had some propaganda shoved down my throat by my father, who loves Indiana and hates Purdue. But I, coming out of the PK 85, was like, UConn's the team, man. Like, they have all the pieces. They have they're just so freaking good, and that was what was on display tonight. And that's what, like, Jake and I talked about in the preview, was I just felt like this UConn team can beat you in so many different ways, so many different styles. San Diego State's only hope tonight was to do what they did in the second half, which is muck it up. There were 1,000 foul calls in the second half. I mean, UConn was in the bonus for like the last 14 minutes or something. But that was by design. I think that was what San Diego State said at halftime. To start the game, San Diego State was hitting shots, and that was one part of the recipe, which was like, on offense, what San Diego State had to do to win this game was almost like not think. Just like, if you're open, shoot it, and then hope it goes in. And that's something they haven't really done this year. And at times offensively they overthink, and it gets real clunky. And I was thinking, like, their only hope is to just let it rip and just play loose and play free, and just, if you're open, shoot it, and hopefully you make it. And they were doing that early, and they were hitting shots, and it felt like it might be their night. Could they sustain it for 40 minutes? No, we found that out pretty quickly, but that was one part of the recipe. When halftime rolls around and Dan Hurley's saying we should be up 20, and he's right, they should have been. The San Diego State's adjustment was we have to now, instead of trying to play free and loose and match UConn's offense, we have to go back to San Diego State basketball, which is, frankly, and I say this lovingly, and hopefully San Diego State fans don't take this the wrong way, because most of them kind of know what their brand of basketball is. It's basically like foul every possession on defense, and they're the refs to call it, which is just play super physical and tough, and that's what San Diego State basketball is. They did that. They put UConn on the free throw line a lot, and it was a double-edged sword, and it ultimately kind of worked out for San Diego State. I mean, on the bad part is you're giving UConn free points, kind of just like letting them parade to the free throw line. The good thing was that UConn rhythm offensively was just gone for stretches there in the second half. They got no rhythm whatsoever when you're going to the free throw line a million times and you're not really running offense. So that kept happening, and I don't know. I felt like San Diego State did exactly what they needed to do. It's just this UConn team is so freaking good that they can beat you. They can show up on any given night and say, you dictate the terms. You tell us what kind of game you want. Do you want this game to be up and down, a track meet? Cool, we'll do that. You want this to be a 3-point contest? Cool, you'll do that. You want it to be big dudes banging inside, and let's see who's got the best big men. Cool, we'll beat you that way. And that's why coming into the game, it was no disrespect to San Diego State, but this is why all the talking heads said, like, it's probably a UConn route. It was like San Diego State is very good. It's just when UConn, San Diego State had no advantage. There was literally no advantage. There was no, like going into the San Diego State Bama game, for example, I said on the show, this is a terrible matchup for Bama. I still thought Bama was going to win, but I thought this is a bad matchup for Bama because they're stylistically, there was a formula for San Diego State to beat Bama. That's what they did. They executed it perfectly. There was no path for San Diego State tonight other than just getting lights out from three and just mucking the shit out of UConn's offense. And they gave it their best, man. And I do, a lot of teams would have thrown in the towel. San Diego State's run to this point was impressive as hell. I know that it stings probably tonight, but I'm sure every San Diego State fan is going to wake up tomorrow and be like, that was sick. I mean, we made it to national championship on a last-second shot. We beat Creighton on basically a last-second shot. We come back from down 14 against Bama, or 12, whatever it was. Just an incredible run for them, and they got nothing to be ashamed of. Quick break to talk about our friends at The Farmer's Dog. Dogs will eat anything: shoes, toilet paper, garbage, and even kibble. But just because they'll eat it doesn't mean it's healthy food. Here's an idea. What if dogs ate real food? Eating processed food for every meal isn't healthy. We all know that, and kibble is subject to multiple rounds of high heat processing, making it an ultra-processed food. Try something fresh. Feed your dog The Farmer's Dog. It's real, fresh, healthy food with whole meat and veggies, gently cooked in human-grade kitchens to preserve their nutritional value. Just tell them about your dog, and they'll deliver personalized, vet-developed recipes for as little as $2 a day. Meals arrive in pre-portioned, ready-to-serve packs, conveniently delivered on your schedule. Dog people all across the country have ordered millions of meals from The Farmer's Dog, including yours truly. I have done this. I have got this for Moses. I got to get Moses on the podcast to give his endorsement, but I'm telling you, this dog freaking loves The Farmer's Dog. It's never been easier to invest in your dog's health with fresh food. Get 50% off your first box of fresh, healthy food at thefarmersdog.com/Titus. Plus, you get free shipping. Just go to thefarmersdog.com/Titus. 50% off. farmersdog.com/Titus. Go do it now. UConn put on display exactly why they were A, so likable, but B, so good, was that they have multiple shooters that could beat you. They have multiple big guys. They have an incredible defense. They have an incredible, I mean, they're just a complete team. And yeah, I'm frustrated that they sucked ass in January because I want to consider this an all-time great team. I don't necessarily think that I don't anticipate Hawkins or Andre Jackson or Sonogo having like Hall of Fame NBA careers or making NBA All-Star teams or anything like that. Hawkins has probably the best shot. So I guess like in 15, 20 years, we'll probably look back and maybe there'll be naysayers of like there wasn't that much talent on this team. I don't know. But I don't care. Even though there's no surefire NBA talent, which there is, Jordan Hawkins is that dude, man. He is. He's gonna be that dude. I freaking love that guy. But there's no Ben Gordon and Emeka Okafor and Rip Hamilton and Kimba. There's no guys like that on this team per se. I don't care, man. I wanted this to be an all-time UConn team, and unfortunately, they sucked ass in January, and I don't think they're going to be considered that. But Dan Hurley has joined the national champion club. I don't know how UConn does this, TJ. I don't know how 5 titles in 25 years, 24 tournaments because we didn't have one, obviously. 3 different coaches, basically 3 different conferences, technically 2, but like effectively 3 with the old Big East, the American, and then the new iteration of the Big East. You want to believe that there's something inherently special about that place, and I'm sure there is. I mean, there obviously is in the sense of like the fan base is awesome, and they are the preeminent New England basketball team, and they're the brand. Villanova had a run there, but like UConn was always like the brand of the Big East, and now they're definitively back to being the brand of the Big East. But with so many changing factors and so many different it defies logic how they continue to do this, because it's not like there's no like just through line of all 5 of these titles other than the name on the front of the jersey. I don't understand it.
It's just, it comes down to like a pure culture thing. Like that word gets thrown around a lot. It's like this mystical like concept. It's like Uconn culture just breeds championships.
I guess so. Yeah. Like at a certain point, you have no choice but to just be like, there's something to this. I mean, you can meme it all you want that like when a tournament breaks wide open, it's a Uconn year, quote unquote, and like this is setting up perfectly for Uconn. But like, why is it always how do they continue to do that? They did it with Jim Calhoun, they did it with Kevin Ollie, and now they've done it with Dan Hurley, and different teams, like the Ollie team and the last Calhoun team obviously had a lot of parallels with Shabazz Napier and Kemba Walker kind of being like the guy, the lead guards that say like, I'm just going to throw the team on my back and we're going to play great team defense and then I'm going to just carry the offense individually. But that wasn't this Uconn team at all. This Uconn team was balanced and deep as hell, and it's just wild because like I think like if you're a fan of another program, if you're a coach at another program, whatever, you're obviously looking at Uconn. I mean, it's unassailable. The last 25 years, they are the best program in the country. But if you look at it and you're like, we should be more like them. How do you be more like them? What does that even mean? What is it? How do you replicate what they've done? Because there's no formula. It's just like like you said, there's something about the culture. I really do wonder if there's something to just like you come to Uconn, the expectation is we're going to win national championships. Like that sounds so stupid, but I'm running out of ways to explain how this happens because you just wonder if there's like something. Yeah, like I know Jim Calhoun spoke to these guys before the Final Four, and he was just like basically I watched like the clip, and he was just basically like, this is what we do, and you guys are going to be legends, and like this is how UConn works. We go to the Final Four and we win. That's the other thing. They've lost one Final Four. They've been in the 6 Final Fours. They've won 5 titles.
That's crazy.
How? I don't know. It's impressive as hell, but it's so baffling. And it's so consistent though. It's going to happen again, and it's one of those things you can't explain. But like the next time UConn's going to be in the Final Four, they're going to win the national championship, and I'm going to be right back here saying like, I don't know how this keeps happening. I respect the hell out of it. It's just like I like to find order in things, and I like to find patterns in things, and I like to be like say this is what it takes to win in March, and this is how you do it, and this is how you build a program, and what you need are these pieces and all of this. And so if you're trying to like study UConn, you're just like, I don't get it. It's just put Connecticut on have sick ass uniforms. Is that it?
It did kind of look like astronauts in Houston with the all white.
Yeah, they did. They those uniforms are sick.
Also, they beat the shit out of everybody aside from
dude.
A half against Iona. And like an 8-minute stretch in this game where San Diego State was putting a run together, nobody came close.
It never got closer than 6, did it?
Right.
The second half? Yeah. They were deep as hell. This is a tourney run I'll remember forever. How dominant it was. I don't know. I mean, to me, like 2009 North Carolina is the one that stands out. I don't know. I know 96 Kentucky has the record for the most margin of victory. That was certainly dominant. 09 Carolina just stands out to me because like all that season they were the best team, and it just like felt like their tournament run started the second they lost to Kansas in the 2008 Final Four. You're like, all right, well, Carolina is going to bring everybody back and just wreck everybody, and then they did in the tournament, and they blew out Michigan State in the title game in Detroit. So that's the one that stands out to me. I don't really care to rank them. That's not how I operate. I'm more of a tier guy than a rank guy. And for me, UConn is in this UConn run is in the S tier. This is an all-time run. Detractors will say they did not play a 1 seed. They did not play a 2 seed. And the 3 seed they played is Gonzaga, which doesn't count because the haters are very good at what they do. So they'll find a way to discredit this, but it's unassailable. I mean, when you beat the snot out of everybody you face, And by the way, like that's always stupid logic anyway. You play who's in front of you. So I've never really cared that much about that when trying to like evaluate how good a team is based on their tournament run. This was an all-time tournament run. Manscaped is here with a deal that you can't pass over this Easter season. They've got the tools to give you the beautifully decorated eggs of your dreams. It's time to put all your eggs into the perfect basket with the Performance Package 4.0 by Manscaped. Inside this ball care bunny basket, you'll find their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker 2.0 ear and nose hair trimmer, Crop Preserver ball deodorant, Crop Reviver toner, Performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag. The Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer is an elite electric trimmer. It has their proprietary advanced skin-safe technology that is designed to trim hair on loose skin. Fellas, I'm telling you, you need to clean it up down there. You might think it's not that important, but if you have a loved one in your life, please do it for them, if not for yourself. Get the Lawnmower 4.0. Get the Performance Package 4.0. April is Easter, but it is also Testicular Cancer Awareness Month. Manscaped has partnered with the Testicular Cancer Society to bring awareness to testicular cancer, men's health, and early cancer detection. Manscaped is committed to raising awareness for the most common form of cancer in men aged 15 to 35 and giving support for fighters, survivors, and families impacted by testicular cancer as part of their We Save Balls initiative. Save 20% off and free shipping with the code Titus at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code Titus at manscaped.com. Hop into the best deal of the year with Manscaped. Stop using stuff that's not built for this. Find something that's made specifically for the job you're trying to do. Go to manscaped.com. Use code Titus. 20% off. Go do it now. I wish there was more to talk about in the national championship game. There's kind of not. I mean, it was played out exactly. UConn's just better. They're more talented. There's only so many ways I can say it. That no disrespect to San Diego State, who I think this was the best version of what San Diego State was, and I think that's all you can really ask for in a team going into a season is like, can we maximize our potential? And San Diego State absolutely did that, and then some with these guys. And obviously, first ever Final Four, and you're down 6. I don't think it was ever. It got interesting, I suppose. I never really thought San Diego State was going to win, even though I've seen them come back in this tournament a few different times. I wasn't going to take San Diego State seriously until it got down to like 1 or 2, or tied maybe. I don't know. It just felt like UConn was playing with their food, as they say sometimes. It felt like they just kind of let their foot off the gas pedal, and once they locked back in, it was theirs. And yeah, so probably a forgetful national championship game. Not exactly one for the ages, I wouldn't say. But San Diego State beating Florida Atlantic was cool. That makes for a cool Final Four. I guess we got one awesome moment, but it ultimately played out as everyone anticipated. And the reason everyone anticipated that is because this UConn team is that damn good. And I'm satisfied. I mean, I talked to Jake about it last night that I think the national champion represents that season of college basketball in the history books. Obviously, that's the first team that should be mentioned when we're talking about a particular season. And this UConn team is more than worthy. I mean, they were absolutely the best team throughout the entire course of the season. Obviously not in January, not in February, but when you look at the totality of what this season was, I don't think it was. If you want to throw Bama in there, UConn beat the hell out of Bama, so that kind of ends that right there. I don't know who else. Houston, I guess, had an argument for a second. Purdue would say talk to us, but it was UConn, man. It was UConn from November, looked the part. They did it, and the walk-ons got in 6 straight games. That was incredible. And also, maybe I'll save some stuff to talk to Jake about. Maybe I'll save some stuff.
Another championship for Rutgers.
How so?
Dan Hurley, born in Jersey City, coached high school in Newark, assistant at Rutgers in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Okay.
offered the job in 2016, said no. Said no.
Hang the banner in. Are you putting all of that on the banner that you hang at Rutgers? That's a lot. That's pretty wordy.
It'll be a small banner.
Jaden LeDee on San Diego State started his career at Ohio State, so I was prepared to argue that the Buckeyes won.
No argument needed on this end. Just
say
stamp
just
it.
Stamp it anyway.
I don't care. If the guy's ever been to New Jersey one time, I'm claiming it as ours.
Dude, I didn't know Isaiah Wong was from Piscataway.
I didn't know that until I was at the game and they said it. I was like, "What the transfer?"
I don't know how I didn't know that. I saw the program. I got one of the programs and it said Isaiah Wong Piscataway, and I was like, "Well, I'll be damned. Look at that.
Come
Why
home.
did he go to Rutgers?" Yeah, and Nigel, that should have been our team, dude, because Nigel Pack is from Indianapolis. So you and I had the two hometown kids that were in Miami inexplicably, but also not inexplicably because we know how Miami built that team.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Well, did this Uconn team? I know I'm the expert, but as a college basketball fan, did this Uconn team feel special to you?
Yeah, I remember watching them, I guess, before their down period in January, and just seeing Sonogo like work on people, and then they bring in a 7-footer off the bench. Yeah. I'm like, well, that's not really fair.
Yeah.
So it's like, as long as their guards click, like their paint guys are going to devour you, no matter what you're throwing at them. I think the signs were there pretty early on. I think it was almost like beneficial to them that they had that lull period to figure out like their issues as a team, and also kind of like get them off of the 1-2 line, get them kind of out of the forefront of people's minds.
I still feel like they should have been a 3, but looking back on it, I guess Xavier was a 3. Xavier did sweep UConn this year, so I guess like if you're trying to suss out like I don't know. I don't know if it even came down to that, but obviously, if they're going to bump up to a 3, someone's got to bump down to a 4. And I don't know if Xavier was one of those teams that, Xavier got absolutely smoked by Marquette in the Big East Championship. So I don't know if the committee considered the idea of seeing Xavier get their asses handed to him by Marquette. Should we bump Xavier to a 4? And then maybe they looked at UConn and were like, well, they did sweep UConn, so I guess we're going to leave. But UConn did not. The 4 seed is ridiculous. And I'm not just saying that because they won the title. Like I'm not one of those guys that just at the end, like whoever wins the title and they're not a 1 seed, you're just like, how is this team not the 1 seed? But UConn's probably did not make a whole lot of sense. But they did lose at home to St. John's by double digits, and that doesn't make sense either. And I will never really understand that other than just like the Big East is the tough league, obviously. The officiating could be different. I do think at times that's why I not to keep harping on it because I'm very clearly wrong about crazy coaches winning national championships, but I do think at times Dan Hurley's attitude towards referees in the Big East comes back to bite him, and then he gets unfavorable whistles throughout the course of the regular season because when you motherfuck a ref on a Tuesday night and then you go on the road on Saturday, guess who might be there? That ref you motherfucked on Tuesday night, It's not like these guys just go away, and it's not like they forget stuff. So, but then, in the end, it didn't really matter because I guess like the guy who Jeff Anderson ref the Miami game, and he's the guy who Jake said Hurley called a fucking clown, and that didn't seem to be a problem on Saturday. So, I don't know. It's baffling. I don't understand why the lull happened. I get like some of the factors. Playing on the road and conference play is never easy. The Big East was a very good conference, but still, what we saw from this UConn team was obviously very special in March and in the Final Four. And just like as a guy who has been watching them all year, it'll never really make sense to me why they sucked there for a little while because they were so freaking good, so. There's nothing like the excitement of the big tournament, but every buzzer beater for your team is someone else's bracket buster, and every game is a chance to turn the tables. When your pride or your money is on the line and you need to take a beat, take a moment to chill with an ice-cold Coors Light. Or maybe, if now that the season's over, you need a moment to chill and unwind after a crazy March Madness. Hold on, you hear that? Hold on. Everybody be quiet. You hear that? Yeah. It's an ice-cold Coors Light calling my name on the beaches of Los Angeles. Cannot wait to get home, crack that thing open, because there's only one beer out there that's literally made to chill, and that's Coors Light. When the mountains turn blue, it's as cold as the Rockies. When you need to hit reset, just crack open an ice-cold Coors Light. It is mountain cold refreshment made to chill. Get Coors Light in the new look delivered straight to your door with Drizzly or Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/Titus. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. The Big East, by the way, controversial to say maybe, probably not, but maybe to the Big 12 fans. The Big East, I don't know if okay, I got to think of how I want to say this, because people get their panties in a bunch, TJ, and I don't want to offend anybody, but I also want to share my honest thoughts. That's what the show's about. The Big 12 is the best conference in college basketball, but going into next year, if you think that any conference other than the Big East is the most intriguing, I think you're outside of your mind. I think you need to donate your brain to science when you pass, because you see the world in a different way than I do, and I would love to understand why you see it that way. Because with the coaching changes, with Dan Hurley now having a national championship, you have all these with Ed Cooley staying in conference and going to Georgetown, and that conference is incredible. I freaking love it, and it's the one conference too in the sea of realignment. Everything driven by football. Obviously, none of these schools have football teams worth a damn. Most of them do have football teams, contrary to popular belief. Even Butler has a football team. They're just not obviously Division 1A or however they classify, like the Ohio States and Alabamas of the world. Because like all these football programs suck, you just have all these schools that are just all in on basketball, and whether they actually are the best conference or not is almost irrelevant in terms of the theater, because it's just going to be incredible. And you have like an empowered Uconn fan base now that we were talking about, even, you know, going back to the very start of this show a month ago, heading into the Big East tournament. I was kind of talking about that. All these Uconn fans, since Dan Hurley's gotten there and they're kind of been building towards this moment, have been talking that shit. And I remember going to the Big East tournament last year, and Uconn fans just like were as cocky as could be about like, we own the Garden. This is our Garden. We're back in the Big East now. This is our time. This is our, because I think that was the first Big East tournament since Uconn had come back to the Big East post-COVID, you know what I mean? Like, so this was like the first like real, I think I have that timeline right.
Yeah, they wouldn't have played in the 2020 tournament because only 2 games.
2020 was canceled immediately. Yeah. And then 2021 was no fans, right? Or like it was not full capacity. So then last year, 22, I think I have that right. Yeah, that was like their first tournament back in the Big East, and they had a pretty, obviously not as good as this team, but they had like a team that they felt could win the Big East tournament. I just remember being in Madison Square Garden and witnessing all these Uconn fans just talking that shit, man. And then Jay Wright did what Jay Wright does, and part of me was like, man, these Uconn fans are crazy for thinking that they're like they talk more than they actually produce. At some point, like if you're gonna say you're back, you're gonna have to prove it, and here we are, TJ. They proved it, so there you go. Uconn is definitively back, and away we go with the resurgence of Uconn basketball under Dan Hurley. So it is awesome. Uconn fans that have been following the show for some reason, I don't mean to shed a spotlight on the handful of haters out there, TJ. I don't want to get in the habit of doing that, because that'll drive you crazy if you do it too often. But I've been getting like a lot of messages like in the last week or two about how I'm like a Uconn hater or something, and I don't really understand it, other than I don't know. Just every so often I just try to like see the bigger picture, and like, I don't know, talking about how they were talking shit last year and didn't win anything. I mean, I felt like that was like a fair thing to say, but I freaking love this team. I love Uconn as a brand that has always been very, very cool. Big East fans are vomiting all over themselves right now as I say that. But to me, as a neutral party, I've always felt like Uconn just had the swag, had like they were a team that like I never really cheered for as a kid, but I was like, you know, like it's more often than, I mean, in 99 and then in 04 on the run to their title. In 99, they beat Duke in the title game. In 04, they beat Duke, I think, in the Final Four in a close game to then beat Georgia Tech. So maybe it was that. It was like they always had to beat Duke to win their titles. But I just remember like thinking like Uconn was a pretty cool program, and they have sick ass jerseys, and I got no problem. So like Uconn being national champions is I don't want to say it's good for the sport, because I don't think there is such thing as like good for the sport. I think if Miami or I think if Florida Atlantic won, that was good for the sport. Just simply playing March Madness and having a champion is good for the sport. I don't think it really matters that much, but it certainly is good for the Big East, and I'm fired up for Big East basketball next year. I'm happy for UConn. Congratulations. I think we can stop right here, and yeah, I think that's all I have. Do you have anything else, or should we take a break and bring Jake on?
Thanks to Jordan Hawkins for hitting the prop of the year.
Oh yeah, the prop of the year, Cody. What does Cody do here again? Tell the people.
Cody, he runs like Viva and some of our main page social stuff.
Yeah. Cody, is this something he does regularly? He comes up with a prop.
So last year, we have a friend group of a bunch of the behind the scenes guys. He gave out Remy Martin's over rebounds prop in the national championship. Remy Martin, who did not start that game and is 6 feet tall.
And a 6 feet tall guard.
I think he had 3 and he needed 6, something like that. And we've been giving him shit for it for a year. So today was his redemption play, and he chose Jordan Hawkins over 2.5. And to his credit, hit in like 12 minutes or something. I also like riled up a bunch of people and had Big Cat get involved with it, so he was sweating it out certainly. But
I got involved. I did what did I call it? The nuclear whale play.
Yeah.
Which for me is $100.
Yeah. It's fun when everybody in the room gets on one together.
It was the only bet I placed on the game tonight, because everyone else was doing it, and I was like, "What the hell? I'll throw $100 on this." Yeah. That's a nuclear whale play for me, TJ. That's the classification there.
Cash the tickets.
Cash the tickets. Let's go. I'm going to go out to a nice steak dinner to celebrate. All right, let's take a break. We'll talk to Jake Marsh on the other side about what's going on over there in Houston behind the scenes. Quick break to talk about Gametime, the exclusive ticketing partner of Barstool Sports, created by fans for fans. Gametime is the ticketing app that makes it easier than ever to score last-minute deals on tickets to sports, concerts, and shows, and they guarantee the lowest price. Now that the season's over, I'm gonna. I was seeing the clips of WrestleMania from SoFi Stadium, and it hit me. I'm moving out of Los Angeles here in a couple months. I still haven't been to SoFi, so I think I'm gonna hit up Gametime, just figure out like some show going on there, and just buy tickets and go. And I don't know. I gotta figure out something. But SoFi Stadium looks absolutely incredible, and I gotta get in there and get a peek before I move out of LA. And Gametime is gonna make it happen. It is all possible with the Gametime app. The biggest last minute price drops can be found on the seats you thought you could never buy. The purchase process takes just 2 taps and 10 seconds. And once you buy your tickets, they're delivered directly to your phone. No printer needed. This app also allows you to easily share tickets with friends via text, so you can get into the game seamlessly. Skip the hassle and enjoy the moment. Download the Gametime app or go to the website, enter your email, and redeem the code Titus for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, but Gametime app, redeem code Titus, $20 off your first purchase. Go do it. All right, Jake Marsh is here courtside. You got there's commotion going on behind you. Who are these people that are on the court behind you, Jake?
I think it's like Uconn support staff, the Houston host committee, just getting their post-game pictures on the court right now. Right now, the locker room's open to the media for Uconn, and Hurley's at the podium. So I think this is just everyone getting their lifetime memories behind.
People are just picking up piles of confetti and throwing it in the air. It's a joyous scene there in Houston. So yeah, well, I talked about the game already and just kind of UConn's dominance in this NCAA tournament. You were there in the building. What the atmosphere, I'm sure, was awesome, and especially when San Diego State started to make a game of it. Is that a correct assumption that the place was buzzing when they cut it to 6, or was it just like dead the whole time?
No, they were buzzing for sure. Also, you were here with me on Saturday. The San Diego State contingent seemed like a respectable contingent. I think a lot of people flew in.
I actually was told that
today.
My San Diego State people, and I have a few people. They told me that they were like, we're gonna show out in more numbers for Monday than Saturday. Yeah, so I think I think you're right.
Yeah, I think obviously UConn had more reasons to cheer, and you heard their fans more. But the one time that San Diego State had that big run, they were maybe louder than Uconn, but maybe because that was the only time for them to get excited.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was really impressed by San Diego State's representatives, friends, family, alumni. There were a lot more here tonight than Saturday.
What was the San Diego State? Did you go to the press conferences at all? Did you get back there and did you get a read on San Diego State's vibe? Because I
didn't get anything at San Diego State because UConn was on the court while SDSU was at the podium.
Oh,
so that's an easy pick.
Yeah. Well, some big J's, Jake, and I'm not telling you should do this. Don't get me wrong. You do you. But some guys, I actually don't do this. Definitely don't do this. But some guys, they jerk off at the thought of being the guy that gets to go into the losing team's locker room and tell the story of the agony of defeat angle. And who wants to do that? Nobody wants to do that.
Yeah.
But
listen, I'm here. I'm not writing a story. I'm not writing an article. I'm here to get videos and content. And what entertainment would it be for the fans if I went in the losing locker room?
So the $1 million question I think all of us have that weren't maybe locked in on the post-game festivities is, has a race war been incited by the celebration of this national champion? Was there an instance of someone did Andrew Hurley tell Lamont Butler to suck his fucking dick as the clock was running? was there something egregious that the internet will argue over and everyone will fight each other in the coming days, Jake? Or was it just, would you say it was classy? Was the celebration classy, would be my question to you?
I think it was a classy celebration. I don't think there are going to be any headlines from that one. I did talk to Andrew Hurley in the locker room. By the
way, my hypothetical quote for Andrew Hurley, Jake's jaw dropped. That was good. That was a fun moment on the show. Jake was what did you just say?
Subscribe to the YouTube. You can see it.
Go ahead. Sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I talked to Andrew Hurley in the locker room a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
And I said, what does this mean for the legacy of walk-ons that you got in all 6 NCAA tournament games?
Good question, Jake.
I'm doing a show with Mark Titus, and he was just happy to get in one.
Yeah.
And here you are getting 6 in a row, running up the score on him. What does this mean for walk-ons? He's like, I'm just thankful to get in the game. But I thought it was boring. It was worth pressing him on that.
Is he doing coach speak already? This kid is already following in his he's already nailing the.
Yeah,
it's in his
I
blood.
Also said it was wild that he's on the team and his dad's the head coach. I gotta tweet that video out.
That is wild. Yeah, so ultimately the game played out kind of how we expected, I guess. Jim Nantz, I will tell you this: I could barely hear it because we were in the sportsbook for this. Obviously doing the live stream.
I love those chairs in the sportsbook, by the way. The comfy chairs, the big comfy rockers.
I want to just take a second as a sidebar to just shout out LeBurge. Am I saying this correctly, Jake?
God. LeBurge.
LeBurge. This place rocked my socks off. When I was told that we were going to spin the national championship in Lake Charles, Louisiana, you might imagine the reaction I had, which was what did I sign up for at this company? Why would we be in Lake Charles, Louisiana? What the hell is going on? And I got to say, I want to watch every national championship here. I was floating down the lazy river drinking pina coladas this afternoon. This place is incredible. But anyway, back to the original point. I just wanted to shout out LeBerge because it freaking
stop
rules.
By there. There's one in Baton Rouge as well. There's 2 in Louisiana.
Well, there we go. Good company, man.
An LSU game.
Good company, man. You and I. But I was watching the sportsbook and I believe, so anybody listening, feel free to fact check me. Please be nice though, because I'm not, I could only hear a little bit, but it felt like they were, that either Grant Hill or Bill Raftery was trying to do a moment with Jim Nantz at the end. And you'll be happy to know, Jake, that Jim Nantz basically shot it down and was like, this isn't about me. Don't make this about me. Classy, dude. Classy. So, huge plus for Jim Nantz. He went out on top. That's an absolute legend move.
What was the final call?
I couldn't hear it. Did you hear it, TJ? Did you hear the final call of Jim Nantz?
The only clip I saw was when he thanked everybody for being his friend.
He thanked everybody for being his friend. That's all that we saw. But
that was what he said when the buzzer sounded?
No. That TJ said that's all that he saw was just that Nantz. Yeah, I didn't hear what he said, to be honest with you. It was hard to hear, Jake. I'm sorry. I let you down.
People would have tagged us if we nailed it.
Yeah, and also if he would have said something legendary, we probably would have saw it by now. But he probably just played it straight.
Yeah, I will say the biggest media scrum on the floor afterwards was for him. Like,
for Nance?
It was a free for all on the floor after the trophy ceremony and after he got off the stage, and he had the biggest amount of reporters surrounding him.
Did he take his tie off? Did he give out the tie? Did we see that?
Still, I think I noticed the tie on still. I actually read something that once this ritual was leaked to the public, like 5 or 6 years ago, he didn't do it anymore. I could be wrong. But
we still continue to talk about it like he does it?
Yeah, I think Arcidiacono was maybe the last one. Colin Gillespie was here, by the way. He's in town.
Really?
They play the Rockets, so he was roaming around, getting in on the action.
Any other celebrity sightings? Any other?
Yeah. So behind me in press row, it was a who's who of NCAA D1 coaches. You turn your head 45 degrees, you see Jawan Howard, Kelvin Sampson, Tubby Smith.
Wow.
Yeah, that's just one head nod.
This one little.
Like if I look the other way, I probably.
Were you courtside, by the way?
I was courtside.
You got the upgrade?
I got the upgrade.
Dude, congratulations.
I made it happen.
I'm so happy for you.
Some luck, but shout out the NCAA for credentialing us. We really appreciate it.
The net cutting, was there anything to report there? Just standard net cutting? Like I don't know. Like it feels like Uconn never really got excited at any point during this run because they were so dominant and they just had so much unfinished business. I didn't really stick around and watch one shiny moment, to be honest with you, because there's like
I didn't see it. I can't comment on it yet. I got to watch it back. Post game film study.
Once the game ended, though, it was like chaos in the sports book, and everyone was kind of getting up, and and then TJ and I came to record the show, so I didn't really see the UConn celebration. I mean, obviously they were happy, but how did Dan Hurley play it? Was he cocky? Was he like relieved that the job is done? Was he like overjoyed? How would you describe his emotions?
I got an exclusive with him.
You did?
I got a 30-second interview with him. He said he just wants to come on Part of My Take at 2 or 3 a.m.
He wants to call in after he's thrown a few back.
I don't know if Big Cat and PFT are willing to stay up for that, but if they are, hey, we can make it happen. It's only 2 hours away, 3 hours away. I interviewed Ray Allen too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did you?
Okay.
Jake, did you?
No, well, here's the thing. I know the fans wanted me to bring up a certain topic. I did say it's there. Now they got there. So it's a little scavenger hunt. Yeah.
Ray, I can't help but notice you're switching back and forth between your seats as you
I didn't have the balls to say that. But yeah.
Today's show is brought to you by the Barstool Sportsbook, the one and only sportsbook of this show and Barstool Sports. The Barstool Sportsbook is made for you, the loyal fans and listeners, and is the only place to find exclusive picks and parlays from Big Cat, El Prez, and the gang, we'll call them. The gang. Follow or fade us. It's up to you. Now offering a $1,000 bonus for new players. If your first bet loses, get up to $1,000 in bonus cash. So download and create an account today. Use code Titus to unlock your $1,000 bonus. If you'd already done this, you could have tailed Cody's pick and got in on the Jordan Hawkins over 2.5 rebounds. The Barstool Sportsbook lets you bet however you like with daily odds boost, live in-game wagering, move the line and teaser bets, and parlay plus for bigger payouts. iCasino is also available in select states with table games and slots. If you love the Mark Titus Show, and I know you do because why else are you here? You got to get the Barstool Sportsbook. So download and create an account today, and be sure to use code Titus to unlock your $1,000 bonus. That's Barstool Sportsbook, code Titus. Terms apply. Must be 21 plus. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right. Any final thoughts on this Final Four experience? Any personal or otherwise? Like how does it feel to be in the building for another national championship? I mean, this is big stuff, dude.
It's really, really cool. It's been a heck of a ride. Again, thank you to the NCAA for giving me, you, and the whole company the access to cover this tournament. It's been a fun ride with you too. I loved our collabs these last few weeks. Obviously, I'm sure you talked about this in your post-game recap, but a very deserving champion, like we mentioned.
Yeah.
Uconn was just total dominance. The only adversity in the whole tournament was this San Diego State run to cut it to 5 or 6. That was it. That was the only time it was ever maybe in doubt at all. But they dominated.
Yeah, it was absolute domination, and like we talked about last night, like this was a very deserving champion and a great representative of this season. I'm happy in that regard. That not that if San Diego State would have won, not that I would have been mad, but just that UConn was a dominant team for long stretches of this season, and it makes sense and it checks out. The logic checks out in my brain. I can go to sleep tonight and say, it all checks out that this team was the team that won the national championship, despite all the ups and downs throughout the season and the chaos that happened at various times. In the end, I think we got it right as a college basketball. Not that you and I had anything to do with it, but we did. I got a vote. I did. I got a vote. The NCAA sent me a ballot and was like, "Who? We're gonna rig the tournament. Who do you want it to win?" And I said, just make Purdue lose in the first round. That's all I ask. And then they did. They did it for me, so that was cool. Jake, I loved having you on, man. It was fun. It was a fun. Thank you so much. To a lot of times you were filling in a pinch, and other times it was a fun ride, dude. To have you come along and pulling double duty with Pardon My Take, and you still made time for me, and I really appreciate it and loved your insight. You and I had a good thing going, I thought, in this tournament. Two different perspectives.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me. Can't wait for November. It's a long off season, but November can't come soon enough.
Hey, man.
Barstool Invitational. I assume you're going to be involved.
Dude, I got to get on the call on that. Yeah, let's call a game together.
Just don't take my seat. Selfishly.
No, I'm not a play-by-play guy, man. You know that. I couldn't do what you do.
We do the first ever 4-man booth.
4-man booth, yeah. We're gonna do a 4-man booth for a basketball.
That would be awesome. Why not?
What was I gonna say? Oh, speaking of the off season, you probably didn't see this. Bill Self is apparently speaking to the media on Wednesday. Was the announcement?
Really?
And that was all I saw. Was just someone said Bill Self will speak to the media on Wednesday, and we don't know what it's about, Jake. So
wow,
the off-season buzz, like the off-season storylines, might be starting very, very quickly. With I don't. My read on it, and maybe it's just like being conditioned to always think bad things when you see things in the media. But my read was like, is this man going to retire? Is he going to announce his retirement on Wednesday? I don't know, but that's. Until proven otherwise, I'm kind of thinking that might be a possibility. So
listen, he won it all a year ago today in this setting, so wouldn't be the worst way to go out. Like, it's still pretty fresh, I'm sure.
Yeah,
and
crazy.
Technically, if he does retire, that's his last NCAA tournament game that he coached, right?
You're right about that, but can you imagine, dude, if he retired? But this is the problem with what Kansas and Duke and what Duke and Carolina have done, and the Celtics did it, and the Lakers did it. Like, if Bill Self retires, I would love to believe that we will now have like 2 months worth of speculation as to who's going to take over at Kansas. But they're probably just going to like promote an assistant, and it's going to be very boring, and it's just going to be
that would open the door for a crazy coaching carousel, because now we're technically late in the coaching carousel, right? It's pretty much over.
Yeah, I don't know. We're in the words of John Rothstein, we are speculating on speculation at this point because he hasn't even retired. But no, I saw that right before I sat down to record, and I was like, oh no, this could be juicy. But no, man, thanks for making time, Jake. It was a lot of fun, dude, and I'm happy for you too, man, to be where you're at in your career, and I know you take this stuff really seriously. So it's cool to see you. Navigating the Barstool world, but at the same time putting on a suit and tie and sitting courtside at the national championship. That's some cool shit, man. So I'm really, really happy for you, and I appreciate you coming on the show throughout the tournament.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for giving me the platform of this show. I've loved doing it with you, and like I said, can't wait for November.
Anything else before we go? Anybody else we got to shout out? Do you have shout outs, TJ? Is there anything we're forgetting? I'm going to be back for the listeners and those of you watching. The show is going to be off for the rest of the week as I just go to the beach and just hammer Coors Lights. But I'm going to be back on Tuesday, I believe. I think we're going to 2 a week starting next week. So it'll be Tuesday, Thursday. And yeah, that'll be the show. And we'll probably start breaking down some of the NBA nonsense going on. Or maybe Bill Self will announce his retirement, and that'll be what I talk about. I don't know, but the show will continue next week. I'm just going to take the rest of the week off, so that's the cadence moving forward. But
well deserved.
Yeah, thank you. It is I am the hardest working man in show business, Jake. And as I was floating in the lazy river at Le Berge today, drinking a pina colada, I thought, I'm the hardest working man in show business. I really am.
Yeah.
No. All right. Well, congratulations to UConn, title number 5. Have you were not a Syracuse fan in 2003 when Syracuse won, were you?
No, I wasn't a Syracuse fan until I went there.
So you and I are still waiting on our first title as fans, huh?
Yeah, you didn't like the Buckeyes? Or you?
Okay. I grew up an IU fan. IU won in 1987, Jake, and I'm not that old. I mean, I was born in 1987, but I was born after they won, so I never saw IU win one. They got close in 2002, and then Ohio State's only title was 1960, and I'm definitely not that old. So.
Fair.
And then 2007, your Florida Gators cheated and brought back 5 starters, Jake. So.
What about 2006? If they cheated in 07, is that one valid?
Well, 2006 is valid. I'll allow that. But then if you win a national title, you can't bring back all 5 starters. That should be a rule. But Florida cheated. So, so we've never freaking won a national championship, and these UConn bastards have won 5 now in 25 years. It's disgusting.
I don't think they're going away anytime soon.
They're not.
We can really get them back here.
What I said on the show too is, I don't know about you, man, but I'm so fired up for Big East basketball next year with all these coaching changes, and now UConn's national champions, and Dan Hurley's got the juice, and it's just going to be so fun. So
selfishly, I know we're making the move. I'm very glad that the Big East still has a presence in Chicago with the DePaul.
Oh yeah, we can go to DePaul.
That's huge. Because then you see all these. You can see UConn come there, St. John's, all that, Providence, Georgetown.
And don't forget,
we're still in the mix. You know what I mean?
Marquette's not that far away either. Like, you and I can, when we're in Chicago, we'll bop on up to drive. We'll bop on up to Milwaukee. It depends on where you're living in Chicago, but I don't think it's that. I think it's an hour and a half, maybe. I don't know. I've never actually made the drive from Chicago to Milwaukee, but I know it's not that far. So, we'll be plugged into the Big East. Don't you worry. Next year,
love that. And you have Adam out, obviously. Yeah,
we go down to Butler, see what that's all about. All right. Well, I'm signing off from Louisiana. Jake in Houston, there at the court. You got to go get some shots up or something, man. Are you going to go get
down the net?
Oh, that's true. They did. They cut down the net. Yeah,
I'm trying to finger through the rim.
Finger the rim. Finger the rim.
Clip that.
Finger the rim, Jake. Finger it. There we go. Yeah.
That's gonna backfire, isn't it? Oh no. Oh God, I don't know what I just did.
If you're listening to the podcast, you got to go to the YouTube page and watch Jake finger the rim.
That was all.
You have to go watch Jake.
That was all just to get people to subscribe to your YouTube
God
channel.
Bless you for that, Jake. Oh my God.
Oh my God, I'm screwed. Don't cancel me.
Thank you to everybody who listened to the show, watched the show. We will be back next week. Congrats to UConn. See everybody. Please like, subscribe, rate, review, all that sort of stuff. We'll see you next week.